Everyone, it's Jenna Melanson from Canadian Beats Media. I'm here with Eric Alper of Eric Alper Public Relations in Toronto for our newest interview in the Inside the Industry series. Welcome, Eric.
Cool. Who are we interviewing?
We're interviewing you.
Me? Oh my gosh. Can I put a little bit of a caveat on this? Um, this is the most hair I've ever had on my face. So in case if people are like, God, he looks homeless, like he looks really disheveled. I haven't shaved in like 6 days, so I apologize. I've just been too busy. I've been too busy working with you. That's what we've been doing. So I
I don't
haven't
think you
shaved.
have to worry too
Yeah.
much.
So in case the people are like, I don't really trust him as a publicist. There's just something about that pseudo beard that he's growing. It all comes off tonight. So yeah.
Okay.
How are you? How are you doing?
Good. And how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. So, you own and operate Eric Alper Public Relations. How
Yes.
and when did you get, I mean, how,
How and when did I become Eric Alper?
yeah, that's what I was
How
gonna
long
say.
how long have you been a publicist for? And how long have you been Eric Alper? Um,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
started
basically.
I started my own PR company the day I left Entertainment One. I was at a company called Koch and then E1 when we were the largest independent distributor of music and video in the world. And I
Mhm.
did all the PR for all of the labels and artists that we were distributing here in Canada. Um, and when I left, on the subway ride home, I called up a couple of artists that I was working with and I said, "Hey, just so you know, I've left. I'm going to start my own company." And they all asked when, and I'm like, maybe 3 hours from now. And so I went home and I bought a computer, started up, incorporated, and just hit the ground running. And I've been doing it for coming up on 5 years with my own company, but I've been doing PR coming up on 29 years. I started the day after I graduated from university. I started my own record label, then that led to a booking agency. Then I cut those two out and just started doing publicity because it's what I love to do. I love telling stories and talking music to bands and to the media, and just wanted to combine it. So it seems like I have absolutely no fear of starting something new.
No.
Um, but then all the terrifying and anxiety will come the day after. I'm like, what did I just do? No, and I had none of that. So yeah, it's been great ever since with the help of obviously the media and sites like Canadian Beat still championing and carrying the torch for Canadian independent music.
For sure. I didn't know you had started a record label.
I did. It was called Slap Happy Records, and we had a couple of bands. One of them was a band called Acid Test, which was a kind of rock, alternative rock, four-piece band. And we started the record label just as 50-50 deals because that was like the cool independent thing to do. And then that led to a couple of other artists that we were doing deals with. And then that quickly turned into a booking agent because I thought that without bookings and playing shows, nobody was going to come and
Mm.
see the band so we can sell the albums and the vinyl and the cassettes. And then I thought a couple of months after that, well, without PR, nobody's going to come and see the bands play in order to help sell the record. And then one day I just woke up and said, I think I can get paid just by being a publicist and not having the stress of running a record label,
Yeah.
trying to break even, worrying about things I had no interest in of manufacturing and artwork, producing,
Yeah.
no interest in that because I stink at all of that. Like you put me in a studio and I have no idea what anything is. I don't know what any of the buttons do. I don't know. I can't play an instrument. I have no clue. All I know is that if it sounds good and I like it, hopefully other people will, and hopefully I can find a story to tell about that band that makes it interesting for people to want to talk to them or write about them. But on the technical side, I hated it because I was just out of my league. Because there were people that were doing it much, much better than I was. And on the booking side, if you were playing like Toronto, I had no idea if I should send them to Ottawa or Timmins or Saskatoon or like Thunder Bay. I had no idea. And then it was like literally a monkey with a hat could have done a better job booking shows than I did because I didn't know how to book a tour. Now I can see it and I can think, oh, you may not be ready for this because you can't sell the ticket, or you should be playing these venues. But then
Mhm.
nobody really knows anything, especially after COVID. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
what, what does anybody know about the general population about how they're going to spend their money in their free time and stuff? So I'm glad I got out of it. But publicity, that I knew. That I read the stories. I had a subscription to Billboard magazine as a teenager. I loved reading about record labels. I loved reading interviews with songwriters. I loved reading about their passion, what got them started, what got the band broken up. I loved
Mhm.
all of that. And I just thought, like, if I can just find artists to work with, then I think everything will be okay.
Yeah. I think you made the right call.
I think so too, because nobody wants to hear me in the studio anyway, so it's good.
If someone is looking to work with you, what should they have prepared in advance?
The ability to breathe on their own.
That's
Other
all.
than other than that, no, I've worked with artists that are literally just starting out with their very first single. I've worked with 12 and 13-year-olds who are putting out their first batch of music, and I've worked with 80-year-olds that have sold 40 million, 50 million albums in their career. To me, it's all really about um not necessarily. It used to be how bad you want this. Because if you didn't want it that badly, there are going to be 100,000 people that release music that day that are going to be wanting this more than you. They're going to work longer
Mhm.
hours. They're going to be tougher. They're going to play more. They're going to practice more. But now I think that there's a road for everybody. I don't think you have to always want to be the next, Lady Gaga or the next, Sam Smith. Because even those people, I'm sure when they started out had their doubts, but I'll tell you that determination and their drive when you're successful, I mean, there's a reason why you are successful. And that's why, you know, whenever people want to slam Nickelback online, I'm dumbfounded because it's like these guys work 10 times harder than you do on your off day.
Yeah.
So really it's about sometimes just coming correct. A bio helps, photos help. A reason why you wrote that song certainly helped, but those are all the things that I can walk through. But I'm always happy to work with anybody, and not because I'm desperate to work with people, but because I just love music so much and working with artists so much that I think that not everybody is going to get their major label deal. Not everybody's going
Mhm.
to open up for Madonna. Not everybody's going to open up for Boy Wonder. People are just going to, you know, when you when you put your life in the hands of others to dictate your success, nobody will know anything. You can try and at least have really great photos, color and black and white. You can have a really great story, but then if Beyonce releases that album on the same day as yours, guess who's not going to get a lot of media attention? It's not going to be Beyonce.
Yeah.
So there's always things that timing and luck is certainly everything. Prestigious stuff, where you come from, means something. um but certainly know who you are as an artist at that time. You don't have to stay
Mhm.
in one space for years. But just the ability to learn and have some fun.
And when you decide to work with someone, what is expected from their side of the deal?
It's interesting. Since COVID, there has been more and more artists I've worked with that have had a full-time job, or at least a part-time job, or at least a couple of full part-time jobs. So before, it used to be, when I was growing up, you can't have a plan B. You have to really want this. You have to sleep on people's floors when you're touring in a crappy van across the country and have no money, and just a sheer drive and determination. Now I think it comes down to um just you know it's funny. I've actually dropped artists based on their on what they're posting on social media during things like Black Lives Matter, or during the whole, everybody get vaccinated. There were a couple of people that I saw during the time I was working with them that were pretty angry politically. Now, they have every right to post whatever they want to post. But I had to tell them that, when the media comes and sees this, they're not going to write about you. They're just going, you are absolutely within your right to be an idiot, and start proclaiming that all lives matter. But that doesn't mean that everybody then will start working with you. So I think the ability to read the room, I think the ability to read as much as you possibly can. There's such a wealth of information out there about how this industry works. Maybe it's moving really, really quickly every single day, but there are a ton of really great newsletters out there, or website that preach about what society is all about, using the music lens, and I love that. So I think just having a little bit of a real expectation, and knowing that people are watching you all the time on social media, and what you write about may actually cut your entire audience in half. So I think just be a little bit, you don't have to be knowledgeable about the industry, but I think that's a really good starting point to find out what's out there. There are some artists I work with from the get-go who don't understand why they're not on the front cover of Rolling Stone magazine, within a week. And I'm happy to tell them why. But sometimes, know what a major label does, know what a booking agent does, know when these booking agents are willing to work with artists. And I mean, those are all just side questions that I get asked, and because I've been in the industry long enough. But I think just a general knowledge of the industry helped, but it's certainly not imperative.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the biggest thing really is just to share the good things that I'm able to get, or your radio team, if you have them, or your manager is able to get. Working as a publicist in the media, it's a two-way street. The artists need these media outlets to survive, and the media outlets need content in order to write about, to keep bringing people to the website so they can sell advertising or sponsored items. So, artists who don't share anything because they think it's too cool, or something like, or they just don't have the time to, or they think it's going to bore their audience, is really doing this entire industry a disservice, when we're all just trying to survive for the next day.
Yeah, definitely. So you're the master of social media.
Oh,
So I have to ask some questions around that.
sure.
Um, so in the ever-changing social media landscape, what 3 tips would you give artists, up-and-coming artists, let's say?
The first tip is, always pretend that your beloved grandmother is behind you before you post. And if she would say, then don't post that. Um, know that posting is really forever. Even if you do delete something, you never know who's actually going to take a screenshot of something. So that ridiculous, you know, anti-racist thing that you might have posted at 15 because you were just angry, that could very well come back and haunt you. um and know that kindness matters. I'm all about building something. I'm all about bringing people up, uh and and helping other people achieve what they want to achieve. I never go negative. The only time I've ever written anything on social media that had to do with my dislike for an artist was a really disastrous result, because it actually ended up being about an artist that, through 6 degrees of separation, I was working with somehow, at least with the manager of somebody who was working. So you never know. You go on social media as an artist and slam, I don't understand why people like Beyonce. Well, you never know when Beyonce's booking agent just might be looking at you thinking, hey, I'm going to keep my eye on them for good stuff. But then now you're just a loose cannon. So be careful of what you post. One thing I will absolutely say about social media, nobody really cares. I mean, I can leave social media tomorrow and nobody will really care. um the algorithm works so against people to be seen and to be heard that you're lucky if 10% of your audience or your fans and your followers see it. In the
Mhm.
beginning, when we were all on Facebook and Twitter and MySpace and Instagram and TikTok, we were all building an audience. And then all of a sudden they changed the algorithm so that now you have to pay in order to see your audience. And that's what it was really all about. If the platform was free, well, we're the ones that are being sold. So I think the more that you know about who your audience is and that know that you're going to have to pay in order to reach them. Social media is certainly not free. And it's okay to put the spotlight on other people. And it's okay to post 52 times a day. I've never understood how these people these gurus that will say, the best time to post is, no, they don't know anything. Or you can't post more than 6 times. No, you can post 50 times a day. The person that sees the post on Monday at 9 o'clock in the morning is going to be completely different from the person that sees the post on Monday at 11 o'clock at night. So go post,
Yeah.
be interesting, be funny, be entertaining, be creative. Go for it.
Scheduling posts. How important do you think it is to schedule posts ahead of time? And is there a certain app you recommend?
I love scheduling posts. I'm gonna earmark this interview because right now there is talk that Twitter has started to and thinking of banning more third-party sites that are out there that allow you to post on their site. So far, they haven't done that with the one I use, which is Hootsuite. I love Hootsuite. The pro account, I think it's just under $10 and you can post unlimited amount. I start my day at about 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning, setting up my whole day, and then that's it. So I'm actually physically working on doing publicity, despite what maybe people think about, like, hey, how is this guy being able to post 52 times a day and getting anything done? Trust me, I'm working. Um, so I use that, and scheduling posts is great because as an artist, there's really no downtime anymore. The time when you're not actively promoting a new single, let's say that right now, for mathematical sake, it's February the 1st, and your single doesn't come out till March the 1st. You have 1 month to start working on creating content, creating your posts, creating your videos, creating your audio, creating what you're going to post. You can do that now, and you can schedule all of them in advance so that when the single comes out, you're not frantically trying to come up with really great ideas while potentially working at your job and while I'm bugging you to like share this and do this and do this in email interview. So the downtime is really your away time that you can start scheduling the post. So I'm all for it. You can definitely comment and post about recent and current events. I do that. I keep my eye on Twitter and the news all day long. I check it in 5, 6 times a day just to see if anybody died, if there's big news that's happening, if somebody's did a surprise release or something like that. So I do keep it on there so that I can be current and post something to the followers as it happens. But for the most part, though, I people aren't people really don't care as much as I think other people think they do about rehashing old posts or posting the same thing of what you did a year ago. Because very few people remember, very few people have actually seen what you posted even 6 months ago. So it's okay to repeat posts, and scheduling posts are the best way to go about doing it. The reason why I like Hootsuite personally is I can set up the fan page on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram all at the same time, even though I do Instagram separately. So those 3 or 4 platforms are really key to me. Although it doesn't do Twitch, it doesn't do TikTok. And if it did, I'm not so sure I would use it. I just kind of like my own comfort zone of dealing with those specific sites of Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter.
Mhm. So the great debate these days is which social media platforms are most important. What's your view on this?
I think it all depends on what kind of an artist you are. If you are a older artist between the ages of 45 and 65 and you play folk music or roots music or blues music or classical, your audience is pretty much solely going to be on Facebook. If Because what happens is that nobody wants to be on the social media network that came before them. So without giving my age, which is 29 years old, I went my first social media site was MySpace.
Hmm.
Then everybody from MySpace went to Facebook. A few people went to Twitter. Rarely would you see them on Instagram, never on TikTok. My daughter, who's 20, her first social media website was Twitter. She has a Facebook page, but isn't really concerned with that. She's definitely on Instagram. A lot of her and a little bit to a lot of her friends are on TikTok. If your first social media network was Instagram, you're definitely on Twitter, might not be so much on Facebook, and you're definitely going to try TikTok and see what it is. So figure out who your audience is and how they consume music, and that'll tell you the answer. If you play pop music and you're under 25, you absolutely have to be on Instagram. You definitely should try TikTok. Twitter may not be it for you, but it's fine to post there. Chances are Facebook, your audience's parents are on there. So figure out what the demographic is and go there. There's people who used to do a lot of live stuff on Instagram and are now on Twitch. There's a lot of people who are really funny and light and humorous, and sometimes they give advice on the industry or playing guitar or piano, or they're really good on short spurt camera work for like a minute or so. And they love TikTok for that very reason. And maybe Instagram, they're just posting photos. So it's figure out who your audience is and figure out where they are. And try everything once. You never know.
Yeah, for sure. So, is there anything else you'd like to say to the listeners?
No,
No.
no. I don't want it. No. What would I? No, I know you're just so good. You've covered it all.
Oh.
I think, just just go and have fun. You know, I'm not so sure. Look, being a musician just stinks. I mean, it they make no money on their music. Touring is almost non-existent for most people because of the closure of venues. Music festivals are so hard to break, and right now, as of today, we've seen the Vancouver Folk Festival and a
Yeah.
couple of other festivals start to go under and have problems, and they may not be back. But if you're a pop artist or if you're under the age of 25, your audience may not have been to a live show, or if they have, it's maybe The Weekend or Ariana Grande or Dua Lipa, or it's a festival setting like Coachella or Oshiega. Like, your audience may not really be interested in spending $15 coming to see you play. It's not even in their mindset. There's way too much competition. Video games are a competition. Netflix is a competition. Sleep is a competition. So um the the ability for you to think that this is going to make you money is a dream that you should absolutely have. Um, but if you go through the whole history of music since 1950, very few people were actually making money. It was all about the live show. And now that the live show, and of course, publishing and the rest of that kind of stuff that comes along with it. But this country has been very kind to people that can play live. And so I think that the more that you can practice, the more that artists can be online and reach those fans and find new fans, is always going to be to their benefit. But the the one of the biggest complaints I've heard since COVID, since March 2020, really has been that it's really, really tough to do social media and be an artist at the same time. And in the beginning, I believed that. And I still believe it to a certain extent. Yeah, it's really, really tough. It's tough to be able to jump up and down in a crowded space like social media and be seen and not be ignored. But it was always tough.
Mhm.
Now you're competing with the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and Donna Summer. for everybody's time, since you're on the same platform as they are.
Mhm.
Your competition are every single artist that's ever recorded a song and available on Spotify. But instead of spending your time on social media, you're not doing some of the things that other artists would be doing. You're not making big budget videos. You're not struggling in order to just get a record label on your side when they were only still signing 5 or 6 artists a year. You have the ability to get your music out there on the same platform as everybody else. So that's a plus. You're not, sitting for 9 hours in a van going from city to city anymore. You can now do live shows at the comfort of your own home. So it was always tough. And the top 1% were always making the most money anyway. 1967, the Stones, the Beatles, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, those artists were making the most money. And there were thousands and thousands of bands, even in San Francisco, that never caught a lucky break. So, you know, same problems, different time.
Mhm.
But just go out, have fun, and then when you think that you're ready to go, when you think that, even if it's just to get advice, send me an email, bug Jenna. We're both here. We love
Mhm.
artists. This is why we do it.
For sure. Thank you for joining me. It's
So
been great.
that's a long answer to a question that I started off with. No, I didn't have anything else to say.
Exactly, exactly. I knew you had something to
Right,
say.
exactly. I know, Jenna, you know me too well.
Yeah. Yeah, so thanks for joining me. It's been great.
Thanks so much for having me, Jenna. I appreciate all that you do.
Oh, thanks.